Welcome back to Beyond This, the space where we go deeper into spirituality, self-growth, and the energy behind becoming who you truly are. I'm Matilda, and today we're talking about something that's tender, confronting, and incredibly powerful: deconstruction. You might have heard the word floating around lately, especially in spiritual or religious circles. But what does it really mean? We're going to be talking about that in today's episode. My predictions and talking about predictions that I've made that have happened will be at the end of the episode, as it always is. And I've got some doozies for you coming up over the next couple of months. Today's episode is a little bit late. I apologise. You can probably hear that munching behind me. I have a new addition to my family. A 14-month-old American Staffy by the name of Seamus. I adopted him from Lord Smith Animal Shelter. I went to see him last Wednesday, and I picked him up on Saturday. And the reason today's episode is a little bit late, first of all, we have had the massive outage that I predicted in last week's episode. So a lot of the apps that I used to make my podcast, etc., were not working. And secondly, Seamus got very, very sick on Monday night. And for those of you that have been with me for a while, you will know that Buff had a gastric ulcer that led to cancer. And that's why ultimately I lost him in April. And part of that was that he was up most nights vomiting, and he would bring up blood, etc. And Seamus started vomiting blood on Monday night, and I did not sleep at all. It was from 12 o'clock until about 7 o'clock, and by the time we only have one emergency vet here, and there was a 3-hour wait, so I waited for our vet to open, and they diagnosed him with a gastric ulcer due to the stress of rehoming, being in the shelter, etc. And I must admit, he's much better. We are having chicken and rice for 3 or 4 days, and he's on some medication to fix this ulcer. So the poor baby, oh, it was horrific. There was piles of sick, and I cleaned it up as I went, but you have to steam clean, and I lost a rug. I lost a very, very expensive, stupid Matilda had a cream rug in her bedroom, and it is now defunct. So that has to find its way to the tip. It was beautiful though. I did like it. But these things happen. And I also need to give a massive shout out to a member of my Patreon. Now, if you don't know about Patreon, it is a wonderful community. Absolutely amazing people. And we also help each other out. It's about learning about spirituality. It's about learning about yourselves. I'm live quite often. And one of my Patreons, Carly, I had posted that Seamus was struggling with his behaviour, becoming highly aroused when there was any tug game or play game or anything, when it was time to play, and biting, not maliciously, just out of, that's what some teenage dogs do. But he had pulled me to the ground by once he locks on, he locks on. And he pulled me to the ground by holding onto one of my cardigans, and I had to get out of it, and he'd bite my hand, and it was just a bit of a mess, and I was starting to panic a little bit. And I've had big dogs a lot. So I did a Patreon post just because people were asking about how it was bringing him home, and Carly reached out to me and her husband George, who owns Pup Stop Dog Training, where he does both online, in person, board and train, etc. And it is pupstoptraining.com. Go and give them some love, because he hopped on a Zoom call pretty much within an hour and gave me a lot of tips. So he needs a giant shout out. So yeah, Thank you, George. What the tips you gave me were amazing, and I'm going to say that Seamus has calmed down a lot in just having that consistency. He's got his teeth through a Kong teddy bear at the moment. If you are watching this video, which I'm hoping to upload, you can see him in the background. So that's been my week. That's why today is late. But let's jump on and talk about today's main topic, which is deconstruction. To me, deconstruction is that moment in life where the walls you once leaned on start to crumble. The beliefs, the structures, even the versions of yourself that once felt safe, suddenly they don't fit anymore. It's not about losing faith, it's about losing illusion. Maybe you've been there. That feeling of questioning everything you thought you knew. Maybe you started realizing that what once felt like truth was actually just conditioning, a story that someone else handed to you. And here's the thing, that moment, it's not failure, it's awakening. Deconstruction is the soul's way of saying, I'm ready for the truth now. No more pretending. Now, there can be layers of deconstruction. So let's unpack what this process really looks like, because it's not just one thing. It happens on a few levels. There is spiritual deconstruction, where you start questioning the teachings, the systems, the authority figures you used to follow without hesitation. Maybe it's a religion, maybe it's a guru, maybe it's a mindset you've outgrown. Then there's identity deconstruction, and that one can hit really deep. It's when you realize, wait, who am I when I'm not performing? Certainty for everyone else. You start seeing how much of you was shaped by approval, expectation, or survival, and you begin the sacred work of coming home to yourself. There's relational and societal deconstruction too. You might feel less connected to people you once shared everything with. Conversations that used to make sense start to feel very shallow. And that can be a very lonely place to be. But what's really happening is that your frequency is changing. You're moving from alignment with others' expectations, to alignment with your own truth. And finally, there is the energetic deconstruction, the part most people don't talk about. That buzzing, restless, emotional energy that can make you feel like everything is falling apart. But really, it's your vibration recalibrating. It's like your soul saying, I can't carry this density anymore. It's all very well putting titles and names to different forms of deconstruction, but there's so much more to it. It's so much more of an emotional journey than many people think. There's this real big discomfort phase. Now let's talk about the hard part, because let's be honest, deconstruction isn't peaceful. It isn't a nice, happy, peaceful Sunday afternoon kind of process. It can be emotional. It can be raw. There are days you might think, am I breaking down or breaking through? You might feel grief, confusion, a loss of belonging. Your nervous system will do what it always does when something feels unsafe. It's going to try and pull you back to something that is familiar. That's why we cling to what's known, even when what's known hurts. But here's something to remember. You're not regressing, you're integrating. You're not falling apart. You're making space, and that space is sacred. When you start to question everything, the ego panics, but the soul inhales. Because this process isn't punishment, it's preparation. You're being prepared for something more aligned, more peaceful, and much more you. If you're in that space right now, I want you to ask yourself a few things. What beliefs do I hold that no longer feel like home? Who am I when I stop performing certainty? And what part of me am I afraid to meet when everything goes quiet? These questions aren't meant to fix you. They're meant to free you. And we have to rebuild or almost start from scratch your own sense of authenticity. After the walls fall, something beautiful starts to happen. It's very slow. It's very gentle. And you begin to rebuild. But this time, it's not about programming. It's about presence. You can start trusting yourself again. You begin listening to your intuition instead of every outside opinion. You realize that peace doesn't come from being right. It comes from being real. That's the gift of deconstruction. You strip away everything that isn't you, and what remains is the most honest version of your soul. And here's what's wild. Once you come through the other side, you often realize that what you lost was never truth in the first place. It was the scaffolding, temporary, necessary for the earlier version of you, but not for who you are becoming. We are meant to outgrow the containers that once kept us safe. That's evolution. That's expansion. And that is soul work. We do need to learn how to walk and talk and feel authentically again. If you're walking through a deconstruction season right now, please know you're not broken. You are becoming. You're not losing yourself. You're remembering who you've always been. And that takes courage. Not the loud kind of courage, but the quiet kind. The kind that keeps breathing even when everything familiar is gone. So take your time. Be gentle with yourself. Don't rush to rebuild. Sit in the space between what was and what will be, because that's where the soul rewrites the script. And if today's conversation resonates, I invite you to reflect in your journey, meditate, or even share your story in our community on Patreon. You will find others walking the same sacred path of unlearning, remembering, and rising. When we dare to unbuild, spirit rebuilds, this time as truth. Thank you for listening to this segment of Beyond This, and for being brave enough to question. Because questioning helps you grow. You have all heard me talk about Patreon endlessly. It honestly isn't a sales pitch. It is just telling people about the community that we have grown, that we are proud of. Patreon offers a lot of benefits, not least of all the community. that we have built for a really long time, and very supportive. As you've heard, everyone supported me when I was struggling with Seamus when I first brought him home and his behavior. There are lots of different benefits of Patreon, including early access to all of my events and discounts, including the new Embody 12-month course that is about to be released. There is a significant discount for Patreon members on that. It has chats that I am on quite often. Actually, I will be on Saturday morning my time, which is Friday night in the US. There is a Q&A podcast for the $15 and up membership. I've just got my list of questions that I will record and I will release that next week. There's a newsletter. There is so much going on. And as I said, we have some amazing members of our community. So this is their shout out as part of membership. You get a shout out when you first join. So Connie, thank you very much for joining. Gigi, thank you for joining. Gail Hudson, thank you for joining. Nicole and Jojo Kimber, who has joined for 12 months. You guys rock. You are amazing. Don't forget, my readings for 2026 will be released on the 1st of November. That will also include the Embody course. There is a very limited membership for the Embody course because it has to be limited. It is a mentorship program that is going to go on for 12 months, and it is all about rebuilding after deconstruction, as well as finding yourself, finding your power, empowering yourself. So thank you. And if you want to know more about Patreon, pop along to the show notes. The link, as always, is there for you. I look forward to seeing you there. Have you ever caught a glimpse of something in your mind's eye? A flash of something, a symbol, or a scene, and wondered if it was imagination or intuition? Today, we are diving into the ability of clairvoyance, the clear seeing of the unseen. Clairvoyance isn't just seeing spirits, it's perceiving energy, symbols, and insights visually. It's one of several clairs, and we will talk about the other clairs as we go through the next number of weeks, but it manifests differently for everyone. The word clairvoyance comes from the French roots clair, clear, and voyance, seeing. It's the ability to perceive information visually beyond the normal senses. And it can appear as vivid dreams or mental images, flashes of colour, lights, or symbols. Seeing spirit figures or energetic outlines. Sudden movie-like visions in your mind. That's how I see a lot of things. Remember, the movie-like videos can also be things that you've experienced previously. But then the interpretation is, what are your guides wanting you to know by what you are seeing? Clairvoyance isn't dramatic. Most often it's really subtle imagery or symbolization. It doesn't make someone psychically perfect. Interpretation is the key. Now, I've talked about this, and the more you build that journal, the more you build your relationship, the more you ask for detail, the more you know what you're being shown and how it is in your own interpretation. Everyone receives things differently, and the more we journal, the more information we have to look back on to learn to trust. Everyone has clairvoyant ability to some extent. It's it's a visual interpretation of things. Seeing in your mind's eye is just as valid as seeing with your open eyes. Now, to strengthen your clairvoyance, practice visualization. Imagine a rose. then change its color. Then focus on the third eye between your brows to increase awareness. Keep a symbol journal. Again, with journaling, Matilda, it works, it helps. Do you think that my predictive ability happened to me overnight? It has been built over 54 years of understanding, interpreting, and I'm never perfect. I am never 100% right. But what I do see and what I do interpret is through the building of the strength with my guides. Recurring images will form part of a personal intuitive language. It is your personal intuitive language, no one else's. I once saw a vision of a beach before a reading. Now, we get to see beaches all the time when I do readings, but this had a specific detail to it. It turned out that my client's father always took them to this particular beach. It wasn't cinematic, but it was clear and it was purposeful, and it was the finer detail in the image I was shown that meant the validation was there. Validation will often come after the vision, not before. Building trust is a gradual process. There are no magic wands. It's all about the work that you are willing to put in to develop this ability. Clairvoyance can guide you and enhance your everyday life. You do not have to be working as a metaphysician just because you have the clairvoyance ability. You can read the energy of spaces and people, inspire creativity and visualization, deepening spirit communication and healing work, all in your everyday life, part of your everyday life, without saying, I am working in this field. I encourage you to keep a note of what you feel during meditation, when you rest or when you are in the dream state. That can really help you understand your own clairvoyance ability and trust what you are being given. Clairvoyance isn't about seeing dead people. It's about seeing truth. The more you trust your inner vision, the clearer the world around you becomes. Try one visualization experience a week. Share your experiences either on Patreon or in the show notes here. But you've got this. You can learn to use clairvoyance, understand clairvoyance. And if you do want to know more about it, if you do want to build that relationship with your guides, hop onto the website and find out more about my Are You Listening course. Also, a reminder that if you are in Victoria, John Edward has tickets still available for Bendigo, Geelong, Melbourne. Actually, he's got tickets available for the whole of Australia. And I will be going to the Bendigo event. Thank you for all of your feedback about the episode in which John joined me last week. It was amazing. It was a great interview. It was really informative. And if you haven't bought the book yet, remember Chasing Evil is available on audiobook and in hardback. So that is this week's episode. We've talked about deconstruction and clairvoyance. Both of those things are really important to know, that you are not alone in either of them. You are part of an amazing community, and every experience is personal and real. But don't let people teach you bullshit. Like, I just get frustrated. Somebody was saying that every time they connect with spirit, they get a ringing in their ears, or a ringing in the ears must mean you're psychic. It doesn't. I've never experienced ringing in my ears, ever. Okay, we're going to talk about some predictions that I made that have happened. And I like to do this because often you can see the interpretation, what I was shown, and how I interpret it and how I relay that information to you, and then how it actually plays out. So last week I talked about a big hacking and outage for a big tech company. And I kept seeing Apple, but Apple was my point of reference. And it turned out to be Amazon and many, many more, all connected. And even some of the games that I had predicted would be hacked during the 2025 predictions. But I was shown tech. I'm shown tech through Apple. I'm sat in front of an Apple computer. I have an Apple iPad. I have my phone. Most of the tech that I use is Apple. Don't come for me. It's my little bit of comfort. So that is where I got the tech information from. I also saw violence in last weekend. Now, that was my fault. I jumped to the conclusion that it was going to happen during the No Kings March. And it actually happened here in Melbourne. And it was pretty atrocious. So, again, there is that interpretation. What I see coming in over the next couple of months is really interesting. I want to talk about Trump's going to be in big trouble, like bigger trouble. You know, he's knocking down part of the White House. And he does this used car salesman shit that he uses the White House as to make money, basically. I think he's going to sell off something from that. Is it the East Wing that he knocked down? He's going to start a website to sell off parts of the White House. That's going to raise a lot of concerns. Government is likely to go back first week of November. I believe the shutdown will end. I do think it's connected to air traffic controllers not showing up, or something to do with air travel, air transport being halted. And something else, some other government organisation that's going to say, no, we're not going to do this. There is ICE in San Francisco. He's also going to choose somewhere else for the military to go into. I feel like there may be an increased military or ICE presence in New York in November, even moving towards Christmas. He's trying to unravel some stuff. I'm going to stand to my ground that I don't believe that Trump will live past March next year. He is in his final months, which is why he's trying to cause as much destruction as possible. Everything will be removed and changed. When he falls, his whole administration will fall. There's some serious charges coming to much of his administration. Stephen Miller may resign or be out of a job within the next couple of months. He could be sacked even. Here in Australia, if you are in the East Coast, be careful, especially today. We are expecting, we've had weather warnings. It's going to be pretty horrific, lots of damage. I feel like a big area is going to be without power for a long period of time. I'm going to go to Tasmania. This doesn't necessarily mean today. I think in the next 2 months, there's an area of Tasmania that's going to be without power. Anthony Albanese is going to get some real heckling at an event he goes to in the next 2 weeks. It's going to be connected to his visit to Trump. There is going to be a red flag event in New York that I feel is connected to Mondami. And I'm saying that wrong. I apologize. If you are in New York and going to any of his events, his speeches, etc., be very, very careful. Over in the United Kingdom, gain power. Keep getting like mass power outages. The world's not going to go dark. Everyone's on a different grid. Anyone that comes at me and says, is the grid going to go dark in the US? No, you have more than one. But rolling power outages coming up. And I am also feeling news announcement coming from Harry Styles' camp during, I'm going to say October because I'm getting October, but you know my dates. Let's push it out to the first week of November. And a cancellation of a football match because of security reasons. Announcement to do with mining in Wales. I feel like there's a mine closing, one of the last mines to close, or there's a fear around, that's it, mining is over for environmental reasons. Earthquake. I know this sounds strange because I keep being pulled to Wales. Could there be an earthquake in Wales, or like a massive tremor or an accident that makes a mountain collapse? I'm going to put that out there because that's what I've been shown. But that's about it for predictions this week. Those are covering the coming months. Just a reminder that I have my Are You Listening course in November. There is a 75-person evidential mediumship event that you get to watch me work. There are opportunities for readings. Obviously, I don't read the whole audience. It is done on Zoom. And the link for that is in my bio. It is $50 Australian, which is about £25 and about $30 US. That will be in the show notes. My Embody course will be released. There are very limited places, but it will be released on the 1st of November. I will be putting the pamphlet and flyer about that up on my Patreon this week so that you can read about it, and expressions of interest will be taken. And I am looking at hosting some in-person events for about 50 people, maybe a bit bigger, in Victoria, in Australia, during 2026, probably around March. So keep tuned for that. Thank you for joining me today. I hope today's topics have been interesting and informative and educational for you. As always, keep going beyond this, as that's where the growth is. Take care.